I have held the hand of rape victims when they've been examined by doctors. They have to recount what happened to them during that rape or that assault. They then have to go to court and face their accusers or their families. They have to live with I'm going to say shame because that's how some of them describe it. It's not shame as far as I'm concerned because they did nothing wrong. And then I have been to court where those cases have failed. And it is a terrible, distressing, shocking way to treat rape victims in this country. That needs to be looked at, and it needs to be looked at to support those individuals.
But first, analysis by The Times has found the Metropolitan Police has been substantially under-recording crimes, including rape and stalking, compared to other big police forces. The Met is recording nearly half as many rapes, one-third the number of stalking offences, and hundreds fewer violent incidents than West Midlands Police, one of its closest counterparts. It comes as the Metropolitan Police was put in special measures by the Inspectorate last week. Parm Sandhu, former Chief Superintendent of the Metropolitan Police Service, joins me to discuss. Parm, welcome back to the programme. Lovely to have you.
Good afternoon.
Though sadly, on the back of some pretty horrendous news, why do you think the number of reported crimes are so different to other comparative police forces?
I don't think there is an actual simple explanation for this because the Met is the largest force. It's always had the largest numbers and it's very built up. There's a lot of people that live in London. So there's no simple explanation as to why these figures are so low, which is why HMIC have picked up on the possibility, and they're only saying it's a possibility, that those figures may have been manipulated. And that has contributed to the decision that was made last week about putting the Met into special measures, because with the intervention of HMIC, they will be able to have a look at what's been recorded, why isn't it being recorded? And one of the statistics that they've talked about is that half of the crimes, or less than half of the crimes, go on the system within 24 hours, and yet all recorded crime is supposed to be recorded within 24 hours of that initial report. So there's some really serious issues.
Yeah, but why would that be? Why would they not be put on record within the period required?
Well, one of the suggestions is that if you have less crime and then your detections would be compared against that less crime, it means your figures look better. So that's one of the suggestions. I'm not saying that's happened. However, that is something that HMIC have to look at. And one of the reasons that they will put a force into special measures if they feel that there's a chilling effect on public trust and confidence. And that, to me, is a chilling effect.
Parm, with your experience with the Met Police Service, I mean, that's an incredibly shocking supposition that these figures might actually have been manipulated. Are you surprised at the continuing level of criticism of the Met and the fact that an awful lot of it seems to be borne out?
My heart goes out to the frontline officers who deserve good leadership. They are the people who care, who want to help people, and they join for the right reasons. The majority do. Now, there's 69,000 crimes that were not recorded by the Met last year. Those 69,000 will have a victim's family attached to them. So the numbers are huge. And so this is a really big issue that needs the intervention and needs to be dealt with really quickly. And the explanations need to be highlighted as to why this has happened.
I mean, we already know that there's terrible statistics when it comes to, let's say, rape, for example. And this would make those statistics even worse. I mean, I think 1.6% convictions. So this would suggest that statistics in the Greater London area would be even worse than that.
That is the suggestion there, because if you've only got half the number of rapes compared to West Midlands that are being recorded, that means that women, or men as well, people are not recording, they're not reporting rapes, and if they are, they're not being reported. So there's an issue there with reporting, recording, and then getting to court. It takes about a year or 15 months to get to court with a rape case. That is not acceptable. But this is not just the police failings. This is the criminal justice system. And every police officer who gets up in the morning to go to work has a duty of care to victims, to families, and to the communities that they serve, and they are being let down.
But
not just the victims, but the police officers themselves as well, if they're not being reported.
We've had some really unpleasant stories about culture in the Met. That's another of the reasons that they've been, had criticism levelled at them recently. You were involved with the Met. Is it a culture and an accusation that you recognise the kind of sexism and everything? And it's very hard if you have that sort of misogyny going on in these private WhatsApp groups and all of those things. It's very hard not to draw a line between that and the fact that these, crimes of sexual assault and rape aren't being reported, the suggestion being that they're just not taken seriously.
Those WhatsApp groups, the misogyny, the sexism does exist. And one of the failings of the Met is that they won't acknowledge that they have a problem. And if you don't acknowledge you've got a problem, you're not going to look for a solution. That will have affected trust and confidence. And I feel really sad that I did 30 years in policing, and I feel really sad that there are members of the public out there who will think twice about picking up a phone, especially where there's an incident involving rape, violence, sexual assault, harassment, anything like that, because you would want your family to be confident enough to pick up the phone and ask for help. That's not happening at the moment, which is why police reform needs to happen really quickly. We're tired of the reports. There's too many reports pointing out the same thing. This is a time for action now.
Is a new commissioner the answer?
I think it's a step in the right direction, but it can't just be one person who's going to turn around the whole organisation. It will have to be a number of individuals, a new way of thinking. And if it requires that intervention from HMIC, the College of Policing, the National Police Chiefs Council, they all need to get together. All these leaders need to get together, and they need to get away from the politics and think, what is best for the communities?
Just finally, you're a woman. What do you feel about the fact that, do you understand why a lot of women might be incredibly reticent to report crimes of violence against them, and certainly crimes of a sexual nature?
Mariella, I have held the hand of rape victims when they've been examined by doctors. They have to recount what happened to them during that rape or that assault. They then have to go to court and face their accusers or their families. They have to live with I'm going to say shame, because that's how some of them describe it. It's not shame as far as I'm concerned, because they did nothing wrong. And then I have been to court where those cases have failed. And it is a terrible, distressing, shocking way to treat rape victims in this country. That needs to be looked at, and it needs to be looked at to support those individuals.
Parm Sandhu, former Chief Superintendent in the British Police, the Metropolitan Police Service. Thank you very much indeed for joining me. Thank you.